Sutopolis was always a cheery city, situated in a crater formed by a long extinct volcano and only accessible through diving and flying. It is a peaceful town filled with friendly inhabitants. A fresh blue lake formed in the deepest point of the crater, supplying cool and clean water, making an amazing feature in the otherwise bland and rocky location. At night, the stars shimmer bright in the sky, a beautiful view to every resident. Not only this, a particular point of interest is Origin Cave, with the legendary Pokemon that created the land and the legendary Pokemon that created the seas, both rumoured to reside within. It's the hometown also of one of the strongest trainers in Hoenn, Wallace, master of the water type, a gym leader who was promoted to the Elite Four and his place at the gym taken by his old mentor Juan. The residents of this town are happy and kind. You couldn't find a more peaceful relaxation spot. Being in an enclosed space, heat and stuffiness easily gathers, so it's not unusual for the town to become almost unbearably hot at times. These spells never really last more than 2 to 3 days, at most, and some of the residents even enjoy the heat and they take the opportunity to swim and enjoy themselves. That was what they did as temperatures hit the hottest they had in several years. It was so sweltering that even fire types were sweating. The sun burned fiercer than before. By the third day of this, the heat was unbearable. It was like being in an oven on high heat. The few ice types in the town suffered most, for even inside their Pokeballs, they found no refuge from the soaring temperatures. On the fourth day, people began to worry. The heat was steadily worsening. Never before had a summer day been this intense. Some residents began to prepare their belongings and flew out of town on their bird Pokemon. Others tried to leave via the dive entrance under the lake, but by the time they got down 10 feet, the boiling heat forced them back to the surface. There were no more bird Pokemon in town. They were trapped. There was nothing else for the townspeople to do except wait out the heat wave. On the 6th day, the water started to fizzle and bubble, like a stewing pot. Occasionally wisps of steam wavered around the surface, burning those who got too close. The residents' fear was evident in their every movement. They were advised to stay inside, but it was like putting on a heavy coat in the middle of a desert. It only worsened the effects. When would it end? They didn't know. All the while, temperatures rose, and hope dwindled to a mere speck of a flame. By the 8th day, the water level had fallen several centimeters. Steam rolled off the top of the fog in heavy waves, staining the surrounding rock black with its heat. Anyone or anything that fell afoul of one of these clouds became covered in horrendous blisters within seconds, as they were boiled alive. Even the sturdy rock types and self-heating fire types suffered from the weather. Slowly, food supplies and water ran low. There was no escape, no chance of getting more food or more water. The intense sunlight caused the lake to boil and froth, making even approaching it about as dangerous as a rampaging Gyarados. Diving in was completely out of the question. Children cried from their empty stomachs in the extremely uncomfortable heat. Adults grew bitter and snappy, anxious and terrified about their fate. The elderly succumbed first, slipping off into the darkness as their bodies shut down. It was torture. As the steam filled the small crater, it became hell itself. Hair began to smoke, the ends blackening and charring away even as they sat and watched. Lips chapped and blackened, eyes drying out and turning the owners blind, dry throats and mouths rasped for water even as their skin began to char and crisp. Cracking, bleeding. For miles, all that could be heard was screaming.